Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another Rage video, where tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come, or rather it's come rather quickly, considering this is the second song on Metallica's titular fourth album. The history between me and this song we're going to get into is quite simply legendary. So legendary, in fact, that I'm even compelled by absolutely no one else other than myself to dig out the And Justice for All t-shirt. It's even got the album list on the back, including timestamps. Could you imagine at some point in the future somebody made maybe a t-shirt that had interactive timestamps so you could skip ahead to a certain song? And I don't know who I'm pitching this idea to, but you know what? I reckon somebody will look at this one day and go, "Oh, okay, well maybe that's a good idea." Absolutely nobody do. That's the workings of somebody who thinks watching this video was a good idea. Is it not a good idea, ladies and gentlemen? I wouldn't even advise it. Now, What a way this video is turning out already. Maybe this is just something as akin to how far we've come, because this really is one of the earliest songs I was fortunate enough to take a look at. I remember, I think it was like about this time. I think it was like about July 27th or July 28th, coming up to 3 years ago when I did this song for the first time. And it's one of those things that stuck with me almost for 3 long years. What I didn't, however, find out was something that I just basically found out almost completely by accident, is that apparently, although there is no real confirmation of this, there is a 1979 film called And Justice for All. I've wanted to see it for myself because it has a very interesting premise about a corrupt judge who's been arrested and charged for rape, and he has to employ a lawyer who doesn't like him very much to try and get him off these charges. And you know who's in that movie, ladies and gentlemen? Al Pacino. If I get the chance, it will certainly be the first Al Pacino movie I will see in full. But I would love to know, just because, to be honest, as far as I can remember, there were very few sort of references to that movie, or maybe not. I don't know. I've never seen the movie myself, so I can't necessarily say that's for true. I mean, I can hardly say that, there'll be references to stuff like 12 Angry Men in a song like this. Although, to be fair, a song based on the movie 12 Angry Men would be an interesting spectacle. But you know what? There are lots of things that are interesting, and there are lots of things that you wouldn't think were interesting, but make for spectacular listening experience. You wouldn't believe it, ladies and gentlemen, but And Justice for All at one point was just kind of like that. I mean, before we even begin that, I kind of just want to discuss something very sort of general just to begin with, and that is the actual album art cover itself. I've never actually reviewed an album cover before because I don't really think it was just the sort of thing worth commenting about, but since we're here, I may as well just do this anyway. You see this image of, well, basically a marbled stone cracking, and you see Metallica just launch in place. Is the idea that is perhaps something going to come along that's going to topple the foundations of American society, the American judicial system? Are we going to start seeing change? The reason why I say change, ladies and gentlemen, is that you see ropes tied around the Statue of Liberty as she's being demolished and pulled from the ground. And then you could see the scales of justice overflowing with money. Money is almost, you could say, almost at the centerfold of just about of crime or murder, or even just the motivation for anybody just to do anything, including working the system into such a way that you could break every single law in the book and you will 100% get away with it. So we don't even need to have a justice system anymore, because what system is there that will let people commit crime after crime after crime, time after time after time? I mean, just look at Boris Johnson. I know, that's a very obvious example, but and without wanting to turn this into a debate about Boris Johnson, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I'll let you in on a secret right now. I know technically, again, you could say this is about like the American judicial system and how they handle justice, but I'll level with you, ladies and gentlemen. You ought to start seeing about what things that happen in the UK, and it's absolutely no secret that I don't particularly like Boris Johnson very much. And don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. Johnson can continue to say that he's going to ride out and that he's going to trust the public to be too stupid enough to realize that some of the things he's saying, some of the things he's doing have resulted in hundreds and thousands of lives being lost throughout this COVID-19 pandemic. It will all come back. A lot of things will catch up to Johnson. From his inappropriate comments towards gay people, to his very spiteful comments towards Islamic women, to the way he treats women, to the way he dresses himself, the way he appears on camera, the fact that he looks like I wouldn't trust him to run a bath, let alone a country. And finally, the fact that he comes from a system that basically rewards time and time again bad behavior. Rant over. Because now I think it's time to get down to business. And it's very rare, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm just going to say this in advance, because you know what? We've got work to do, and I've got to put my work clothes on. You know what? Think about it. Leather jacket, Metallica t-shirt, and finally, it's almost as if my channel really was back and nothing ever happened to it. But you know what? I can picture myself now, ladies and gentlemen. We look at him, we look at me, we're a match set. Change is being made, but who is the one doing the changing? Is it the system that rewards bad behavior that's being changed, or is the system being changed for one involving bad behavior? What do you guys reckon? This is something that obviously everybody's going to have their own opinions on. I mean, I could write page after page after page about some of the things that I've witnessed throughout the news in terms of, like, that doesn't seem fair, or why on earth would you do something like that? This platform that I'm on right now seems to exorbit and thrive of drama, scandal, controversy, and the rich getting richer, the poor man always paying. And we've grown so accustomed, I even mentioned this during my Blackened reaction, is that we become so accustomed to just these things happening that we're not surprised when they do. But it's very silly. But with all that being said and done, it's time to begin. And if you guys want to check out the original video for yourselves, you know what to do. Let's begin. And justice for all. In 3, 2, 1, and... There's something absolutely to be said about the way this just begins, and how it's like light and very like euphoric, and then it turns into a very different kind of euphoric. The sort of thing where, oh my goodness, what's happening? And then it glides back in like a lion. and then it stings you again, and then you find out it's here to stay. Is this in any way reminding you of anything, ladies and gentlemen? I think it does. And this is just the opening minute to this song. Ding, 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 ding. Just before we get into this next part, I could fill up, you know what I was saying, I could write page after page before. I could write whole books about detailing every single word of every single line, everything we've just heard already. Because for no other reason, you want to know how, if you want to know where this obsession really started, well, I'll just say this for you very, very quickly because I want to get back to this. When I was about 15 years old, I remember I took the word I. It was used in some context about being introduced to Lady Macbeth, and I wrote, I think, nearly a page and a half trying to dissect, trying to convince my audience of why this letter in particular is being used in this scene to describe Lady Macbeth, to describe exactly what goes through her mind, through like stage direction, through the way she's trying to say out damn spot, out I say. I think that was how it went anyway. Furthermore, when people ask me why don't I just listen to pop music, well, there's your answer. Somebody who thinks, somebody who looks at things like that can't ever go back to listening to mindless drivel. I just can't. I mean, you know, mindless drivel is sometimes okay when you don't want to think too deeply about things, but this is one of those things where I want to be rewarded for thinking, and rewarded for wanting to just listen to what is absolute greatness. I know that might sound like a given so far, but what I have to emphasize happens next is also the next reason why I fell in love to this song, because this instrumental break coming up is, I think, maybe the best they've ever done, and there's some very tough competition amongst Metallica fans, and I'm not talking specifically among other bands, just in Metallica's catalogue. No?
Well, it's alright. Seeking no truth, winning is all. Fighting so grim, so true, so real. Seeking no truth, winning is all. Fighting so grim, so true, so real.
And we are finished. Sit here basically in a puddle of sweat with basically... That was, ladies and gentlemen, and Justice for All. Even just going by the title alone, ... oh, and Justice for All. The title alone would convey the impression, oh, that's right, we've also got to add this part in. As if, like, nobody really cares for that anymore. Why would anybody actually really be that bothered? Because do you really think people actually want justice? Would people even know how to handle justice even if they got it? I love this song, ladies and gentlemen. I know fine well this is like this... I don't know how many times I've said that already, but... The reason why I think for any other reason I resonate with songs like And Justice for All is because it sets in mind perhaps one of the greatest devices to tell any story or to tell any tale of any sort of tale. The tale of a system where you are the enemy and everyone else the rule breakers, the people who commit crimes, the criminals, the underbelly. They are the heroes because they think that they are like you and you are like the underbelly. They think that you are evil. They think you're malicious. They think you are the crime breakers. And how many of us have ever been in scenarios where we come across people and we come across systems or we come across ideas that completely are at opposites to us. I am more than willing to accept right now, ladies and gentlemen, that there's somebody out there in this world right now who is my absolute polar opposite in everything that I believe in. Not only am I taste in music, not only am I taste in, well, fashion, but differences of ideology, differences of opinions on healthcare, differences of opinions on, employment, jobs, politics, religious views, all that sort of thing. There's going to be somebody out there who is going to be my absolute opposite, including possibly, just at the very least, wanting to, or at least wanting to be, ideas of, compassion and just being able to be work together. I mean, one of my absolute favorite phrases you'll ever hear out of me, it's sort of like a personal motto of mine, because I got it from a kids show in 1989, only a few years after this song was released. We should be learning how to work together, not fight each other. And I think it's one of the most important things you could take away from something like this, ladies and gentlemen. We should be learning how to work together, not fight each other. Because in this year alone, I've seen movies like Mississippi Burning and American History X. And I think those movies have taught me more about the evil power of hatred and the evil power of becoming so succumb to violence, to hatred as a way of life, that people will kill you because of what they think you are. So to that end, ladies and gentlemen, does that mean I have to, dress up in a certain way or like stamp, paragon of virtue on my forehead? No, not necessarily. But when it comes to, but again, bring us back to And Justice for All for a second. Who is going to be there, ladies and gentlemen, and getting back to the idea of using this as like a frame device for, being up against a system as though we will never win. It's only through, because I'm not asking anybody out there to, change their ideologies or change anything about them, because they don't seem to think that, anything will change. You have to keep fighting for those rights. It's the only way that things ever get done in this world. In fact, you know what? You would say probably in maybe the last year, maybe even 10 years for that matter, people have fought just so they can they can live in a free world. I remember a time, ladies and gentlemen, where it was illegal to, be a gay couple and be married in this country. And I also remember there were other times, ladies and gentlemen, where, well, I can't remember, but there was an idea that the idea of letting women vote was preposterous and even evil in some corners of society. And that happened just over 100 years ago. You don't see anybody saying that sort of thing is evil nowadays. But I think it's telling about the sort of world we live in where that sort of thing, where people say that, the idea of letting women have rights to vote is still a monstrosity. Even in very specific parts of the world, that's still going on. And where's the justice for those people? Who's going to fight in their corner? You have to consider these things, ladies and gentlemen, because there are places in the world right now for simply having the right to exist and simply having the right to be who you want to be is simply going to be a death sentence for some people in this world. It's absolutely horrible, don't get me wrong. Unfortunately, we all know this is true because they say, that, isn't it, what's the saying goes is that for every person going with, there are also people, equal number of people, possibly even more, who are going without. Well, think about that right now, ladies and gentlemen. Think about the sort of system you're in right now and think about what it's like if you didn't have that. I know I'll do this probably maybe in another video because we're sort of like pushing for time as it is. But there's a sort of like a short film. It's labeled as anti-communist propaganda, but it's a short movie made by a college from the 1950s called Make Mine Freedom, which it sort of glorifies the ideas of capitalism in American society, and it by basically doing just as much to demonize the idea of communism. And there were lots of things I do agree with. There are only few things I do kind of disagree with it, because you could say 100% it was made purely as just propaganda, but it does raise some very interesting points, and even as somebody who lives in the UK, it's very easy to see that, well, why something like that would be a highly contentious issue, because take a look at stuff like British Leyland or even stories of the 1970s where people would have to walk around supermarkets with candles because power cuts or whatever else, or thousands of people laid off work from British Leyland, that sort of thing. I know if I'm well, I wouldn't be born for another 20 years for that sort of thing to take place. But as far as I can work out in today's day and age, everything is just kind of... It seems like trying to have any statement or trying to resolve any issue or trying to seek justice, sometimes it's like screaming into a black hole. You know that nobody is going to listen to you, and you know that nothing comes out of the end of this black hole. So what's the point? And I'm pretty sure that's going to be the feeling for more people who are in more dire straits than people like me. And I've always got to keep those sort of things in mind, because it's very easy to look at songs like And Justice for All and think that they've solved a corner of virtue just because they're writing about a system that is obviously flawed and is continually flawed to this day. In fact, even long before the 1980s. I will say, just before we leave, ladies and gentlemen, because if I could do a part 2 where I talk about every single lyric specifically, I would. But I still gotta give credit to Hetfield when he says hidden deep animosity. Because from when I heard it first, I thought he said animal-mosity. Like, he was trying to combine it, like, the viciousness, the wildness of wild animals, because they mentioned, power wolves seeking out the door, hear them stalking. I thought that was a really good, turn of phrase, like, we're just going to turn the world into wild beasts who have no concept of, civilization, or no concept of, severity, or why it's wrong to kill, that sort of thing. And then you get stuff like overpower, which is just one word. So it's no confusion. It's supposed to be one single solitary word. Not to be confused, not to be confuddled, not to be mistaken for anything else. The only thing I will say that this, and this is like, I think I'll just wear the shades and to sort of like modify a lyric from the third verse just to end off this video. My sight is blurred, I cannot tell, can I see yours? I honestly wanted to do that just because I feel like that's the sort of thing I would probably contribute to a song like this, because you're looking at the system, you're looking at about everything unfolding before you, and then you just want to sort of like turn to the person next to you and you wonder, are they seeing are they seeing what I'm seeing? Because I can't believe what's just happening. There you are, a turn of perspective. And I will say this will definitely get me. I'll definitely want to be able to check out the movie and Justice for All now, because I just want to be able to check it out just to see if it really, because it's my favorite song. I'm sorry, and Justice for All, I absolutely will take. If I was on Desert Island Discs and I had to choose one Metallica song, absolutely I would take And Justice for All. Maybe that or Disposable. Oh my god, this or Disposable Heroes. That's like, I don't even know how on earth you could judge that. What do you guys reckon? Because the fact that I'm going to make just an entire solo video just to go through each and every lyric is astounding. Well, I think it's astounding. You may not, because if you think this video is long enough already. Which is why I think it's time we ground it down just about here. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this reaction to And Justice for All from Metallica. Please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys thought of perhaps the greatest metal song, in my opinion, ever made. And I will hope to see you guys again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.